What up, YouTube? This is Ian Talber. This is TalbyReacts. So today we're going to talk about my very first experience with HTC Vive. So over the weekend, I got to try it out, try the HTC Vive out in Bellevue for the very first time. It was my first experience with PC-based VR. I've had previous experiences with Samsung VR and a couple other different ones. And so this is my very first experience with, the upper tier VR. There's like three upper tier. There's the Oculus Rift, there's the HTC Vive, and then there's the PlayStation VR, which is kind of the mid tier. But this is my first time with the HTC Vive. So I was at the mall on Sunday, kind of walking around, looking at different shops, and I noticed the Microsoft store was doing HTC Vive presentations, and I was like, might as well try to get in line. And so I was the very last person to do the HTC. I was like the very last person to get there for the HTC Vive presentations because the store was soon to close. And so I got to wait. I had to wait 3 different people. And I had some really interesting early impressions as I was kind of watching, because I had 30 minutes to watch these different presentations happen before mine. And so kind of 2 main points. The first was the fact that some of the particular movements that they do in these games is not really normal for the normal consumer. I think if you're a gamer, it's going to feel pretty natural. For instance, like I noticed there was a time where you had to pull out a shield, which was very common. Like it's very, like if you play games in any sense, you probably know how to do it. But if you did not really play games that much and very casual in terms of playing games, you probably do not know how to do that. And so it brought me to think about, like, how do you make games for VR? I think you really will have to make something very much more simpler in a sense to make it more accommodating for people. Hopefully there will be very, very complex games, but I think you definitely may have to tone it down a little bit in terms of that. Although I don't know. It was just my one impression from this one guy who tried it out. And the other really interesting impression was why was Vive in the Microsoft store? This is one really interesting question that I was kind of really playing with. Is why was Vive really there, not Oculus Rift? For instance, a couple of months ago in January, when the Consumer Electronics Show, the Oculus Rift had their big press conference for the year. They were talking about the launch of going to give you the launch window of the Oculus Rift and kind of give you some of the games. And they also really showed off a kind of a partnership with Microsoft, where they were in every Oculus Rift game system, every Oculus Rift VR device that you get a free Xbox One controller that will work with your Oculus Rift. And that's what was really interesting. For the longest while, I thought, oh, these two are going to be really partnered up. Like this is when you look at the Microsoft, this is who you're going to see next to Microsoft is Oculus Rift. And I always wondered kind of about Vive. I for a minute there, I almost thought they were very far apart from each other. But I guess that is the opposite, because I see Vive demonstrations, not Oculus demonstrations, in the Microsoft store. So that was one really interesting tidbit I thought I should talk about. So got there. So it came to my turn in the demo. And so this nice Windows employee came up to you. He told me about the Vive and how it works and all that. He said you can use it with glasses, which was a big thing for me. Because as a guy who wears glasses, obviously, I really had my discerns. I was really concerned about whether I could use it or not, because with 3D glasses, it's been problematic. And so I always thought there's a chance that I may have problems doing actual virtual reality because of my glasses. But found out you were able to wear it for Vive. And I've heard it really fits really well for PlayStation VR. I haven't heard much about Oculus Rift in terms of glasses. You can wear glasses or not. But for what I know, for Vive, you can strap it onto your thing. So the guy strapped me the helmet in, and the way we went. And so the first thing that you're introduced into the world of VR is basically the home screen for VR. And so it basically has a lot of the different titles that you can play on the HTC Vive. And also, there was some other really interesting tricks that you do. Like you can blow up balloons using your controllers. And then you can change the colors of balloons, and you can hit the balloons and all sorts of different things. And this is the first time we were introduced with the HTC Vive controllers as well. And the HTC Vive controllers are pretty much glorified Wii remotes in all sense. They were these nice little long type devices. They had triggers, and then they had like this rotation type circle type thing that you could turn around and stuff like that. And they felt pretty fluid. When I was watching these demos, I was like very unsure about it. But as the demos went on, I felt pretty good about how these HTC Vive controllers fit. So the first really demo that we got introduced was this demo called The Deep. The Deep is this underwater demo. So they put you underwater on this sunken ship. You see the sunken ship, you look all around. And so you see in front of you is basically a sunken ship. And then all around you is the ocean. You're underwater. And so on all sides, you see different fish. And so the first thing they really tell you is to you can move, like you use your Vive to move the fish around, hitting them, like moving them around like that. And then kind of looking around. If you look around, you can look 360, of course, because it is VR. The first thing you see is a stingray, for instance. You see stingrays floating off to the top. You see a lot of different type of creatures. Then all of a sudden comes this whale on the right side, and you see this big, gigantic whale. Like, it is huge. And I think that's the first time like you were really caught off guard with VR. That's the first like wow factor. Like, and I think, and then this is like, in this demo is where you really do feel like, oh, this is like a totally different role. And I think it's going to be totally awesome. So it was cool. Like they had this big whale. You can kind of interact touching it. And then as the whale went on, like the tail kind of flapped, like you almost like, you feel like it almost hit you. And that's where like your body, like throughout that demo, you felt like you could be hit or not hit or something like that. Like the whale is literally a gigantic predator. For me, like what was really cool about this was like just kind of the application of this like demo is like just thinking about kind of the future of VR, just to be able to try out like being like really interesting places around the world, like lava, like volcanoes or tundras or all sorts of different places around the world and checking out creatures. I think for like schools, like doing like biology, just be able to put you in this far away place like that you're never going to attain. Like I used to so during grade school, and this is kind of my geeky type side, I used to study like deep water vents when I was like in like 6th or 7th grade. Really liked that. And I think this is one of the few areas, like because of VR, I think you're now able to kind of experience what a deep sea vent is, versus you can only research it, you can only understand it. They're able to kind of show you these creatures that you see about, and so I think that's one of the awesome parts about VR is be able to experience those type of settings. The next demo that I got to see was basically this demo called Space Pirates, and basically it's a glorified duck hunter. It's basically you had 2 guns, and you were able to shoot. You were able to shoot discs. So they had like rounds, round 1, round 2, round 3, and then they keep multiplying in terms of disc. And these discs can actually shoot after you if they wait long enough and stuff like that. And I was actually pretty good at it because of just playing games and all that. But I do think like if you have not played games, there is kind of a learning curve. And that is one thing that's kind of is concerning. There may be a little bit of a learning curve to learn some of these type of features, especially if you're not really on to like have not played games as much. I think there may be something of a learning curve. But this is the game. But this experience was probably the most like I felt like this was a game. This is what this is the type of experience I really want to try out, and I really can't wait to try out some of these games that do that. And so I feel like overall, and I think something to talk about this one is like, I think the Vive is probably the most easiest to handle in terms of like first person shooters because you have the ability to walk around and stuff like that. I think that is going to make it really easy to build those type of experience for that. So I really like that experience. I wasn't like that was the one I wasn't really like wowed by, but I thought it was cool. My third experience was this experience called Brush. Brush was a tool done by Google, and it lets you basically it's basically a paint, the Microsoft Paint tool, but it's pretty much done in 3D. So the first thing I was able to do was like, all right, hello world, kind of like the C++ type thing, kind of be a little geeky. And then and so you have this tool set on your controller. And so you use both controllers to kind of move around. You hold one thing and move around. And so it's basically this 3D cube. And so they have different things like Neo, explosions, sand, dust, all sorts of different type of things that you can kind of do. And so you click on that ability, and then you have that ability to kind of play around around the world. And so what I really like about this is you can build kind of in 3D almost. And so like you can build like these gigantic spaceships and all sorts of different really cool things, real cool applications. And so then also you have the ability to actually change the environment. And so one of the coolest things at the end of the thing was you can instantly turn the environment into space. And so there's like a full-fledged planet and stars and all around you. And if you look up around you, like there's like you're standing in like space. And so what's kind of cool is just like you have that instant feeling, oh my gosh. And so it is awesome, like just being able to play around and draw. So you can feel like you're drawing spaceships in space and all that. And so what I can't wait about this is just the ability to create and see creations. I think I'm not going to be one of those artists that are going to do that, but I think what I can't wait for is the ability to download. I think what I hopefully they do is you can draw, people can create things and then they can save it, and then you're able to upload it from some unknown location, and then you're able to see different people's creations. And so you can just see Johnny's creation of like the mountains and the skies and all that. And so I think that's going to be a really awesome thing. And also I can see, and that's one of the most impressive like applications of VR that I really thought. And kind of some of my thoughts about the Brush tool is I thought I seen the Brush. I was really convinced that probably Dreams, the PlayStation third party, the Dreams, the first person party exclusive, is going to be really cool. Dreams is this really cool puppet type tool that you're able to create worlds and try to make games with it. And I think that's going to be really awesome. If put that in VR, I think you could really have a really cool hit, because I really do think even this Brush tool can be can almost sell the unit. So overall, those were the three demonstrations that I was able to witness. And I really liked all three of them. I really thought they were really cool. I think all three of them showed different varieties. I think, for instance, the deep really showed just the scale of it all. I think it was the most impressive graphics and stuff like that. And it really shows the kind of the future of what it can do. I think the Brush, it really shows kind of the innovative what you can do and how you can dream in terms of VR. And I think it's really awesome. I think it's so cool. And I've been kind of on the fence to kind of give you my impressions about VR. I've been kind of on the fence about VR. Should I try it? Should I not try it? And I think this really made me a believer. I think at the end of the day, this really made me want to buy a VR. And I think it actually did not sell them a Vive. I'm not going to buy them a straight Vive system, but it really did sell me on the fact of PlayStation VR. And I think I am going to be a day one supporter of VR. And so this demo really made me excited for VR. I think that's what these guys got to do, is do more and more demonstrations of people. I think it really is kind of weird to see people trying it out. Like if you look at some of the people you see people walking around the mall and they just look at the demonstration, and people are just like weird as hell. Like, like, ooh. And so it's really interesting. But I think it's going to be awesome. So guys, what do you think about, have you tried this demonstration? If not, please tell me if you have. Give me your opinions about what you thought about this demonstration or not. Have you tried HTC Vive. If you tried the HTC Vive, give me your opinions about that. How do you like the system? What do you think about it? I just really wanted to tell you about my experience because I think it's worth really telling, because I think this is a changing in history. Like, I think gaming is really going to change in a different course because of VR. So I thought this was really important to talk about. So guys, what do you think about it? I hope you like this video. Like this video if you do. Please subscribe to my channel and comment. And I hope you'll have a good time. And you also get to see my new ending right now. I'm gonna add this real cool ending to it. Shout out to Shadow Play Games who did some new work for me, especially this new ending that we're gonna add. And maybe I may even use the new front, the new banner that he gave me. Definitely shout out to him. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day. All right, bye.